Dear listener, hello, and welcome to the Deep Sleep Science channel. We live on a planet that is 71% ocean, and yet we have explored more of the surface of the moon than the world beneath our own waves. Right now, beneath ships, beneath storms, beneath satellites and sonar, there are entire ecosystems living in complete darkness that no human eyes had ever seen until very recently. Vast forests of glowing corals, transparent octopuses drifting like ghosts, predators made of glass, creatures that can live for 1,000 years, animals that hunt without eyes, breathe without much oxygen, and survive pressure strong enough to crush submarines like soda cans. In 2025, scientists uncovered some of the most shocking deep-sea animals ever recorded. Creatures so strange, they look like they belong on another planet. Yet they are living right here, beneath our feet. And here's the truly terrifying part. These are only the ones we found. The deep ocean is still mostly unexplored. There are mountains, valleys, forests, and entire biological worlds hiding in the dark places that have never been mapped, filmed, or even named. Every expedition doesn't just answer questions, it creates new mysteries. So tonight, you're about to descend into the deepest, coldest, darkest parts of Earth to meet 15 real creatures that sound like science fiction, but are absolutely real. Some of them can replace a fish's tongue. Some glow like living stars. Some haven't seen sunlight in their entire existence. And some may outlive human civilization itself. This is not the future. This is not fantasy. This is happening right now in the unexplored ocean beneath us. And what you're about to see will completely change the way you look at our planet. Death ball sponge far below the reach of sunlight, in a realm of crashing pressure and endless darkness, lives a predator so quiet and so strange that it hid in plain sight for centuries. It does not swim, chase, or even appear alive at first glance. It looks like a pale, motionless ball resting on rock. Yet this silent form is one of the ocean's most patient hunters, the death ball sponge, a carnivorous sponge formerly documented in 2025 that forever changed what scientists believed sponges were capable of. The death ball sponge lives thousands of meters beneath the surface, in zones where temperatures hover just above freezing and oxygen levels are dangerously low. The pressure here is strong enough to crush most machines, let alone living creatures. In these depths, almost nothing moves, and very few animals can survive. Yet the death ball sponge thrives. Its body does not rely on pumping water for oxygen like ordinary sponges. Instead, its cells are adapted to pull tiny traces of oxygen directly from the surrounding water and chemical reactions in the sediment, allowing it to live where fish, corals, and even bacteria struggle to survive. For decades, similar pale spheres had been spotted on the seafloor by deep-sea cameras, but they were dismissed as simple filter-feeding sponges. Everything changed in 2025 when a remotely operated vehicle captured footage of tiny crustaceans drifting near one of these spheres and suddenly vanishing. Slow-motion review revealed that the sponge itself was trapping and consuming them. What was once considered a passive organism was, in reality, a quiet predator that had been hunting unseen in the abyss. Instead of teeth, the death ball sponge is armed with microscopic glass hooks called spicules. These razor-sharp structures, made of silica, the same substance found in quartz and sand, form a dense forest of invisible needles covering its body. When tiny animals drift too close, they become impaled and tangled in these hooks. Every movement only drives the glass deeper, trapping the prey in a prison of crystalline barbs from which escape is nearly impossible. Once prey is caught, the sponge performs something that looks almost unreal. Its cells slowly crawl over the trapped animal, sealing it inside living tissue. Digestive chemicals are released directly onto the victim's body, dissolving it from the outside in. The nutrients are absorbed cell by cell across the sponge's surface. It does not chew or swallow, it simply melts its prey into itself, turning drifting life into living nourishment. The death ball sponge can survive where other predators cannot, because its metabolism is unbelievably slow. It can live for months on a single tiny crustacean. Its tissues function with minimal oxygen, and its silica-reinforced skeleton resists pressure that would crush most animals. This allows it to claim hunting grounds that are nearly empty of competitors, giving it access to prey with nowhere else to hide. Reproduction in this dark and isolated world is equally remarkable. The sponge releases microscopic reproductive cells into deep-sea currents, where they drift silently until they find suitable rock. Once attached, they grow slowly, sometimes taking decades to reach full size. Some individuals are believed to be hundreds of years old, making entire sponge fields older than many recorded human civilizations. Few creatures attempt to eat the death ball sponge. Its glass hooks can tear internal organs of fish that try to swallow it, and predators that bite it may be fatally injured from the inside. In the deep sea, these pale spheres are not prey, they are hazards, treated with instinctive caution by animals that have learned their danger. Unlike most animals which use calcium-based skeletons, the death ball sponge is built on a framework of pure silica glass. Its internal lattice resists pressure, cold, and decay, and its design is already inspiring scientists who study materials for deep-sea and space exploration. Relatives of carnivorous sponges existed long before trees appeared on land. Their basic body design is older than sharks, dinosaurs, and coral reefs. What scientists documented in 2025 was not a new experiment of nature, but a survivor from a world so ancient that its ancestors were already hunting before continents took their modern dar. Shapes. The death ball sponge hunts without a brain, eats without a mouth, uses glass as a weapon, lives where oxygen nearly disappears, and can outlive entire civilizations. In the cold, black silence of the abyss, it does not chase or glow. It simply waits, and in a place where nothing should hunt, it does. Iridescent scale, worm Eulogisca species. Beneath the frozen shell of Antarctica, in a world where sunlight fades into a dim blue whisper and the water hovers near freezing, lives a creature so visually unreal that early camera operators believed it to be a brass. Reflection glitch. Its body flashes with shimmering rainbows of blue, purple, and molten gold, glowing like a moving jewel in the darkness. This is the iridescent scale worm, a newly documented species of Eulogisca, formally recorded in 2025, a living prism drifting through one of the coldest and darkest habitats on Earth. Its world lies under thick Antarctic ice, hundreds to thousands of meters below the surface, where daylight barely filters through layers of frozen water and drifting snow particles. In this realm, temperatures stay just above freezing year-round, and the pressure increases with every meter of depth. The darkness is nearly absolute. Only faint glimmers of bioluminescence and reflected light from passing submersibles ever disturb the blackness. It is a place where survival requires extreme specialization, and the iridescent scale worm has mastered it. For decades, researchers occasionally spotted flashes of unnatural color on deep-sea footage, but the phenomenon was assumed to be light scattering from minerals or ice particles. The worm itself moved so quietly and rarely that it blended into optical noise. It was not until a high-resolution Antarctic expedition in 2025 used slow-moving cameras and specialized lighting that the truth emerged. What scientists thought were shimmering reflections were actually living animals, drifting and crawling slowly across the seafloor like animated gemstones. The iridescent scale worm's body is covered in overlapping armored plates called scales. These scales are made from a combination of silica and reflective crystal structures arranged at microscopic levels, allowing them to bend light into vivid rainbow colors. In total darkness, this armor doesn't simply look beautiful, it becomes a survival tool. The shimmering reflections distort the worm's outline, confusing predators by making its true shape difficult to track, as if it were constantly breaking into fragments of colored light. Hidden beneath this glowing armor is one of the worm's most astonishing features, a mouth that can suddenly shoot forward from its body. When prey passes nearby, the worm launches this extendable feeding organ in a split second, grabbing tiny crustaceans and soft-bodied animals before they even realize danger is present. In a world where food is scarce and movement is slow, this ambush ability allows the worm to feed efficiently without wasting precious energy. Finding food in the Antarctic abyss is a challenge few animals can overcome. The iridescent scale worm relies on sensitive chemical receptors that detect faint traces of organic material drifting through the water. Even the tiniest chemical trail left by passing organisms can guide it toward its next meal. Its slow, deliberate movements conserve energy, while its extendable feeding mechanism delivers sudden bursts of speed only when necessary. Reproduction in this silent underworld happens through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into deep ocean currents. These drift through the dark water until they settle onto suitable surfaces, where they slowly develop into new individuals. Growth is extremely slow, and scientists believe some worms may live for many decades, possibly even longer, in the cold stability of their icy habitat. Despite their delicate appearance, iridescent scale worms are not easy prey. Their reflective armor can mislead predators, while the sharp edges of their scales can damage the mouths of animals that attempt to bite them. Their bodies also contain chemical compounds that taste extremely unpleasant to many deep-sea hunters, making them a risky meal even when successfully captured. Unlike most animals, the worm's shimmering armor is not made of ordinary biological materials. Its scales contain silica-based microstructures similar to glass, forming natural light-bending crystals that give it its unreal glow. This glass-like armor resists pressure, cold, and slow decay, making it perfectly suited to the extreme conditions of the Antarctic deep. Relatives of scale worms have existed in the deep ocean for an incredibly long time, and their lineage stretches back to some of the earliest complex animals to inhabit Earth's seas. The iridescent species documented in 2025 represents a branch of this ancient family that refined its armor and ambush abilities to survive one of the harshest marine environments on the AU planet. Among its most astonishing traits are its living crystal armor, its lightning-fast extendable mouth, its ability to glow in a world without light, and its talent for surviving in near-freezing darkness. It does not roar, chase, or patrol its territory. It glides silently beneath Antarctic ice, flashing colors like a drifting prism, an alien jewel hiding in Earth's coldest abyss. Brisingidae sea stars, spiny deep-sea stars far below the reach of sunlight, deeper than Mount Everest is tall, lives a sea star so delicate and strange that it appears more like a floating spider than a starfish. Its body is small, but its arms stretch outward in long, thread-like rays that can span more than a meter wide, drifting silently in the abyss. These are the Brisingidae sea stars, spiny deep-sea stars formerly documented in 2025, and they are among the most fragile and unusual hunters ever recorded in Earth's oceans. Their world exists in a zone of permanent night, thousands of meters beneath the surface, where the water is icy cold and the pressure is powerful enough to crush most machines. Down here, sunlight never arrives. The only light that ever appears comes from the faint glow of bioluminescent animals or the distant lamps of research submersibles. In this darkness, the Brisingidae sea stars do not crawl along the sea floor like ordinary starfish. Instead, they rise into the water column and hang there like living traps. For years, these creatures escaped proper documentation because their arms are so thin and brittle that they often disintegrated when early deep-sea nets tried to collect them. What little remained looked like broken debris, not a complete animal. It was only in 2025, using slow-moving robotic arms and high-resolution cameras, that scientists were finally able to observe them alive, floating in their natural position, revealing their buyer. True form for the first time. Their feeding strategy is unlike that of any familiar sea star. Rather than crawling toward prey, Brisingidae stars stretch their long arms into the water, forming a massive, invisible net. Tiny, drifting plankton and organic particles become trapped against the spines lining their arms. Once contact is made, the arms slowly guide the food toward the central body, where it is digested. They do not chase prey. They let the ocean deliver it. In a place where food is scarce, energy is precious. The Brisingidae sea stars survive by moving very little. Their bodies are designed for patience rather than speed, allowing them to remain suspended for long periods without exhaustion. Their slow metabolism and efficient feeding method make it possible for them to live where meals may only drift by occasionally. Despite their delicate appearance, their arms possess a remarkable ability. They regenerate quickly. If an arm snaps due to damage or pressure, it begins regrowing almost immediately. This allows them to survive accidents, predatory attacks, and even damage caused by strong currents. Over time, their graceful, thread-like limbs return to full length, restoring their living net. Their primary defense is their fragility itself. Many predators that attempt to bite a Brisingidae sea star end up tearing off only thin fragments of arm tissue, gaining little nutrition while the star slowly regenerates what was lost. Their spines also make them unpleasant to swallow, discouraging repeated attacks. Their bodies are reinforced with tiny skeletal plates that resist crushing pressure, while their arms are made of flexible, silicon-fused structures that can bend without breaking, although under extreme stress they will snap cleanly rather than shatter. This combination of strength and controlled fragility allows them to survive in crushing deep-sea conditions. Reproduction occurs through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into deep ocean currents. These drift through the darkness until they settle on suitable seafloor habitats. Growth is slow, and individuals may live for many decades, possibly longer, in the cold stability of the abyss. Relatives of Brisingidae sea stars have inhabited the deep ocean for an extremely long time, forming one of the most ancient and specialized star-shaped body designs in marine ecosystems. Their presence in modern oceans reflects a bloodline that stretches far beyond recorded history. Among the most astonishing facts about Brisingidae sea stars are their ability to suspend themselves like floating traps. Their arms that can grow longer than a human is Tor, their rapid regeneration, and their fragile bodies that can snap under their own weight. In a place where darkness never ends, they drift silently living nets, waiting patiently for the ocean to bring them their next meal. Bentopectinidae sea stars, mud stars hidden beneath blankets of deep-sea sediment. In a world of cold silence and endless night, lives a sea star that almost never reveals itself. It does not cling to rocks or crawl across coral like familiar starfish. Instead, it disappears into the seafloor itself, burying its body beneath layers of soft mud like a living landmine. These are the Bentopectinidae sea stars, often called mud stars, and in 2025, scientists finally documented their secretive behavior in high detail for the first time. Their world lies thousands of meters beneath the surface, in waters so dark that sunlight never reaches them, and so cold that temperatures hover just above freezing, even in summer. In Antarctic regions, the water is close to the freezing point of seawater, and the pressure is strong enough to crush most shallow water animals instantly. In this crushing, silent environment, Benthopectinidae sea stars remain almost completely hidden, buried beneath sediment with only the tips of their arms exposed. For decades, these animals were rarely seen alive. Early deep-sea nets often dragged them up broken or coated in mud, giving no clear idea of how they actually lived. In 2025, slow-moving robotic vehicles finally captured footage of mud stars burying themselves, revealing their ambush lifestyle and explaining why they had avoided detailed study for so long. Their camouflage and subterranean habits made them nearly invisible in one of the least explored regions of Earth. Unlike most sea stars that search actively for food, Benthopectinidae mud stars rely on chemical sensing. Their arms are covered in receptors that detect faint chemical trails left behind by passing animals. When a prey creature moves nearby, the mud star senses the invisible scent in the water and slowly rises from the sediment like a ghost. With surprising speed for such a slow-looking animal, it snaps upward, capturing its prey in a sudden ambush. Their arms are thicker and stronger than those of most sea stars, built to push through heavy sediment and withstand freezing temperatures. These reinforced limbs allow them to remain buried for long periods without injury and to strike effectively when prey passes overhead. Some species also glow faintly in darkness, producing a subtle blue or green light that may confuse predators or lure curious prey toward their hidden position. Surviving in freezing Antarctic water requires extraordinary biology. Benthopectinidae sea stars possess tissues that resist ice formation and maintain flexibility at temperatures that would stiffen or kill most animals. Their metabolism remains stable even in near-freezing conditions, allowing them to endure long periods without feeding. Reproduction in the deep ocean happens through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into the surrounding water. These drift silently through the abyss until they settle on suitable seafloor regions, where they slowly develop into new mud stars. Growth is slow, and individuals may live for many decades in the stable cold of the deep sea. Their main defense is their invisibility. Buried beneath the sediment, they are nearly impossible for predators to detect. Their thick arms also make them difficult to bite through, and their faint bioluminescent glow can confuse predators by distorting their outline in darkness. Unlike most sea stars, Benthopectinidae species contain unusually dense internal skeletal plates reinforced with pressure-resistant minerals, giving them the strength to survive burial and extreme pressure. Their tissues remain flexible in freezing water, making their bodies uniquely suited for life beneath the Antarctic seabed. Relatives of these mud stars have occupied deep-sea habitats for an incredibly long time, forming one of the most persistent sea star bloodlines in Earth's oceans. The species documented in 2025 represent a continuation of this ancient lineage, refined for life in darkness and cold. Among their most astonishing traits are their ability to bury themselves completely, sense invisible chemical trails, glow faintly in pitch-black water, and ambush prey from beneath the seafloor. In the silent depths, Benthopectinidae sea stars wait beneath the mud unseen, patient, and perfectly adapted to a world where almost nothing else can live. Paxillosidae sea stars in the silent darkness of the deep ocean floor, where pressure crushes steel and sunlight has never touched, lives a sea star that hunts like a buried trap. It does not cling to rocks, and it does not crawl across coral reefs. Instead, it hides beneath layers of soft sediment, waiting motionless, like a living landmine until something passes too close. These are the Paxillosidae sea stars, strange, powerful hunters formerly documented in greater detail in 2025, revealing behaviors that had gone unseen for centuries. Their world exists thousands of meters below the surface, in regions of permanent night and near-freezing temperatures. The water is heavy with pressure equal to having more than 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of your body. In this crushing darkness, few animals can survive, yet Paxillosidae sea stars remain active, alert, and perfectly stable, lying half-buried beneath the seafloor. Unlike familiar starfish, Paxillosidae sea stars have no suction cups. They do not cling, they walk. Their arms are lined with stiff spines that grip sediment grains and allow them to crawl, anchor themselves, and even dig into the seabed. These spines also help them remain hidden, blending into the texture of the ocean floor so well that passing animals often never notice them. Their feeding behavior is both simple and shocking. When prey passes close enough, Paxillosidae stars surge upward, capturing animals with their arms. Some species are capable of swallowing prey whole, pulling entire creatures into their central mouth, opening and digesting them internally. In a world where food is scarce, this ability allows them to make the most of every opportunity. Finding food in total darkness requires more than eyesight. Paxillosidae sea stars rely on sensitive chemical sensors embedded in their skin that detect invisible scent trails left by moving animals. Even the faintest trace of biological activity can trigger their ambush response. Reproduction occurs through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into deep-sea currents. These drift through the abyss until they settle onto suitable sediment beds. Growth is slow, and individuals may live for many decades, possibly longer, in the cold stability of the deep. Their main defense is their invisibility. Buried beneath sediment, they are almost impossible to detect. Their tough, spine-covered bodies are difficult to bite, and predators that attempt to swallow them risk injury from their rigid skeletal plates. Unlike most sea stars, Paxillosidae species contain unusually dense mineralized skeletal structures, reinforced with pressure-resistant materials that prevent collapse under crushing depths. Their tissues remain flexible in freezing water, while their internal framework stays rigid, forming a body built specifically for life under extreme pressure. Relatives of Paxillosidae sea stars have inhabited the deep ocean for more than 100 million years, forming one of the most persistent and resilient sea star bloodlines known. The species studied in 2025 are not recent arrivals. They are survivors of a lineage older than many surface ecosystems. Among the most astonishing facts about Paxillosidae sea stars are their ability to walk using spines instead of suction cups, swallow prey whole, survive pressure strong enough to flatten submarines, and hide beneath car. The seafloor, like living mines. In the silent abyss, they remain buried, waiting ancient hunters in a world where light has never existed. New deep-sea isopods in the deepest trenches of the ocean, where the water is blacker than night and the pressure can crush steel like paper, lives a creature that looks as if it crawled straight out of another world. It resembles the tiny pill bugs that hide beneath garden stones, but these deep-sea isopods are the size of a human hand, sometimes even larger, and wrapped in armor thick enough to resist attacks from abyssal predators. In 2025, new species of these giant isopods were formally documented, revealing a survival strategy so extreme that it redefines what endurance truly means. Their world begins thousands of meters beneath the surface, where sunlight has never existed and temperatures hover just above freezing. Here, food is incredibly rare. A single dead fish falling from above may be the only meal for kilometers. It is in this food desert that deep-sea isopods reign as some of the most patient survivors on Earth. For decades, scientists occasionally pulled up massive isopods in deep-sea nets, but most samples were damaged, poorly documented, or assumed to belong to already known species. In 2025, high-resolution submersible cameras and carefully controlled sampling finally revealed multiple new species distinct in shape, armor structure, and behavior, proving that entire communities of giant isopods had remained hidden simply because the abyss is so difficult to explore. Their most astonishing ability is endurance. Deep-sea isopods can survive for years without eating. Their metabolism is unbelievably slow, allowing them to conserve energy so efficiently that their bodies can remain alive on stored reserves longer than most animals can survive with food. When a rare meal finally appears, such as a fallen fish, whale tissue, or sinking debris, they awaken into sudden activity, swarming the food in large numbers. Finding food in total darkness is made possible by ultra-sensitive chemical sensors located on their antennae. These sensors can detect faint chemical traces drifting through the water, guiding them across vast distances to a single food source. Some have been recorded traveling kilometers toward the scent of decay. Deep-sea isopods are protected by thick, overlapping armored plates that form a natural shield around their entire bodies. When threatened, some species curl into perfect armored balls, sealing their softer undersides inside a nearly impenetrable shell. This behavior makes them extremely difficult for predators to bite, crush, or swallow. Their shells are reinforced with dense mineral layers that resist crushing pressure and prevent internal collapse. Unlike shallow water crustaceans, their exoskeleton contains pressure-resistant crystalline structures that maintain strength even at abyssal depths. Reproduction occurs through the release of reproductive cells into deep currents, allowing their young to drift through the abyss before settling onto the sea floor. Growth is slow, and individuals may live for many decades, possibly even longer, in the cold stability of the deep ocean. Relatives of giant isopods have occupied deep ocean environments for an extremely long time, forming a birdline that has survived multiple planetary changes and mass extinctions. The newly documented species from 2025 are part of this ancient family creatures whose basic body design has remained effective in darkness for longer than human civilization has existed. Among the most astonishing facts about these deep-sea isopods are their ability to go years without food, their perfect rolling armor, their kilometer-long scent tracking, and their survival in pressures that would flatten submarines. In the endless black trenches, they wait armored, patient, and nearly indestructible. New Southern Ocean amphipods in the frozen waters circling Antarctica, where the sea is darker than night and colder than a household freezer, lives a tiny but vital creature that quietly keeps the deep ocean from peltar, becoming a graveyard. These newly documented Southern Ocean amphipods were formally recorded in 2025, revealing a group of animals whose strange chemistry and hidden lifestyles allow them to survive and thrive in DZ, one of the most hostile marine environments on Earth. Their world exists beneath thick ice and endless winter clouds, where sunlight barely penetrates the surface and disappears completely within a few hundred meters. Far below the ice, the water temperature drops to nearly -2 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze the blood of most animals. Pressure increases with depth, and food becomes incredibly scarce. In this dark and freezing realm, these amphipods remain active, alert, and essential to the balance of deep-sea ecosystems. For many years, these creatures went unnoticed because of their small size and secretive behavior. Most deep-sea sampling equipment was designed to collect larger animals, while amphipods slipped through nets or remained hidden inside sponges and sediment. It wasn't until 2025 when ultra-fine sampling gear and long-duration deep-sea cameras were deployed in Antarctic waters that scientists realized entirely new species of amphipods were living in these frozen depths. One of their most astonishing superpowers is their natural antifreeze blood. Their internal fluids contain specialized chemical compounds that prevent ice crystals from forming inside their cells, allowing them to survive in water colder than your freezer. Without this biological antifreeze, their tissues would freeze solid within minutes. Food in the Antarctic abyss is rare, but when it appears, amphipods become some of the most important recyclers in the ocean. They are drawn to the chemical scent of decay drifting through the water and can swarm fallen whales, fish, and other organic remains within hours. By breaking down these massive carcasses, amphipods recycle nutrients back into the deep-sea ecosystem, preventing the ocean floor from becoming clogged with rotting bodies. Some species have developed an unusual survival strategy by living inside sponges. These sponge-dwelling amphipods use the sponge's body as shelter, hiding from predators and harsh currents, while feeding on organic particles drifting through the sponge's filtration system. It is a living apartment complex in the deep sea. Reproduction takes place through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into cold, deep currents. The young drift slowly through the darkness before settling into suitable habitats, where they grow at a slow, steady pace. Individuals may live for many years in the stable cold of the Southern Ocean. Their main defense is invisibility and numbers. Their small size allows them to hide easily in sediment, sponge chambers, and rock crevices. When threatened, their ability to scatter rapidly in multiple directions confuses predators, making it difficult for any single animal to be caught. Unlike most animals, their blood chemistry contains powerful antifreeze molecules that resist freezing and stabilize cell membranes at near-zero temperatures. Their bodies are also flexible enough to avoid cracking under pressure, allowing them to thrive where most life cannot. Relatives of these amphipods have occupied cold, deep-sea habitats for an extremely long time, forming a bloodline that has persisted through countless planetary changes. The species documented in 2025 represent another branch of this resilient family, perfectly suited to Earth's coldest oceans. Among their most astonishing traits are their antifreeze blood, their role as the deep ocean's cleanup crew, their sponge-dwelling lifestyles, and their ability to prevent the abyss from filling with decaying remains. Without them, the deep sea would be far darker and far more lifeless than it already is. Iridogorgia, Chewbacca, Wookiee coral in the silent abyss of the deep Pacific, far below the reach of sunlight, stands a coral that rises like a golden tree in a world of black water. It does not resemble the shallow reef corals people are familiar with. Instead, it forms towering spiral columns that can grow taller than a two-story building, glowing faintly under the lights of deep-sea submersibles. This remarkable organism is Iridogorgia chewbacca, nicknamed the Wookiee coral, a species formally documented in 2025 that revealed the existence of hidden coral forests in places once believed to be nearly lifeless. Its world begins thousands of meters beneath the surface, where sunlight has never touched the seafloor. The water here is cold, heavy, and crushing, with pressure strong enough to flatten steel. The darkness is complete, broken only by bioluminescent flashes and the distant lamps of research vehicles. Yet in this black silence, the Wookiee coral grows slowly upward, forming spiraling towers that can exceed 20 feet in height. For years, fragments of unusual golden coral were found in deep-sea trawls, but the full structure remained unknown. These pieces were mistaken for broken branches of ordinary deep-sea corals. In 2025, remotely operated vehicles finally filmed entire colonies standing upright, revealing massive spiral coral forests stretching across the abyss. The long, hair-like fibers covering its branches reminded researchers of Chewbacca from Star Wars, giving the coral its unforgettable name. The Wookiee coral survives in a world where food is scarce by capturing tiny drifting particles from the water. Its branches are covered in microscopic polyps that extend delicate feeding arms into passing currents, catching plankton and organic debris. The coral's tall, spiraling shape increases its exposure to flowing water, allowing it to gather food more efficiently than low-lying organisms. One of its most astonishing superpowers is longevity. Some individuals are believed to be over 1,000 years old. They grow so slowly that a coral forest visible today may have begun forming before many modern civilizations even existed. Their skeletal structures harden over centuries, forming natural towers that become permanent features of the seafloor. The coral reproduces by releasing microscopic reproductive cells into deep ocean currents. These drift through the abyss until they settle onto suitable hard surfaces, where new corals slowly begin to grow, continuing the expansion of these hidden forests. Despite its fragile appearance, the Wookiee coral has powerful defenses. Its branches are flexible yet resilient, able to bend under slow currents without breaking. The rough, fibrous texture of its surface also discourages many animals from feeding on it. Its height lifts it above many seafloor predators, keeping most dangers far below its living canopy. Unlike shallow water corals, the skeleton of Iridogorgia chewbacca is reinforced with dense mineral layers that resist crushing pressure and cold. Some of its branches glow gold under submersible lights due to lit-reflecting compounds embedded in its tissues, giving it an otherworldly shimmer in total darkness. The coral's bloodline stretches back through immense spans of Earth's ocean history, forming part of a deep-sea coral family that has endured long before modern ecosystems formed. The individuals recorded in 2025 represent survivors of a lineage that has remained hidden in the abyss for ages. Among the most astonishing facts about the Wookiee coral are its towering size, its golden glow, its 1,000-year lifespan, and its ability to form underwater forests that shelter hundreds of other species. In the place where darkness never ends, it stands like a living monument, a glowing cathedral of life rising silently from the black sea floor. Record-setting deep-sea mollusk in the deepest known trenches of the ocean, in a place darker than space and colder than polar winter, lives a mollusk so extreme that it has rewritten the limits of life on Earth. This record-setting deep-sea mollusk was formally documented in 2025 after scientists recorded it living deeper than any mollusk had ever been observed before. It survives in pressures strong enough to crush submarines, in waters so dark that not even bioluminescent flashes are common. It exists in a world where silence, cold, and crushing force dominate everything, yet it thrives. Its world lies thousands of meters beneath the surface, far beyond the deepest coral forests and long past the reach of sunlight. The pressure here is so immense that steel hulls must be specially reinforced just to survive a few minutes. Temperatures hover just above freezing, and the water is nearly devoid of oxygen. For decades, this environment was considered too hostile for mollusks, which is why no one expected to find one here at all. The mollusk remained unknown because no traditional deep-sea nets could reach its depth without being destroyed, and early robotic vehicles were not designed to linger in such extreme pressure zones. It wasn't until 2025, when newly engineered ultra-pressure submersibles descended into these trenches, that scientists finally captured clear footage and samples of this creature living and moving naturally on the trench floor. One of its most astonishing superpowers is its body structure. Unlike ordinary mollusks whose tissues would collapse under such pressure, this mollusk has ultra-flexible internal tissues that compress without damage. Its cells are filled with special pressure-stabilizing compounds that allow them to bend rather than break, preventing the organism from being crushed by the surrounding water. Finding food in the abyss is a challenge few animals can overcome. This mollusk feeds primarily on bacteria that live within deep sediment layers. It slowly glides across the trench floor, using chemical sensors to detect microbial colonies beneath the mud. Once located, it grazes on these bacteria, turning invisible microbial life into nourishment. Reproduction in this extreme environment occurs through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into trench currents. These drift slowly through the abyss until they settle onto suitable sediment beds, where they begin developing into new individuals. Growth is extremely slow, and individuals may live for many decades, possibly longer, in the cold stability of the deep trench. Its main defense is its body itself. Its tissues are so flexible and compressible that predators have difficulty gripping or crushing it. Its low energy content and unusual texture also make it an unappealing target for most deep-sea hunters. Unlike most mollusks, its body contains pressure-resistant biochemical compounds that stabilize cell membranes and prevent structural collapse. Its shell, if present, is reinforced with mineral layers designed to resist deformation under extreme pressure. Relatives of this mollusk have occupied deep-sea environments for an incredibly long time, forming a bloodline that stretches back through immense spans of ocean history. The species documented in 2025 represents one of the deepest living branches of this ancient family. Among its most astonishing traits are its record-breaking depth, its ability to survive pressure that crushes submarines, its bacteria-based diet, and its potential to help scientists understand how life might exist on icy ocean worlds like Europa and Enceladus. In the cold, crushing silence of the deepest trenches, this mollusk moves slowly, a living proof that life can exist where almost nothing else can. Carnivorous bivalve in a world of total darkness and toxic gases, where methane seeps bubbles slowly from the seafloor and sunlight has never existed, lives a clam that does something no clam should be able to do. It does not filter plankton from the water like its relatives. It does not sit passively waiting for drifting particles. Instead, it hunts. This carnivorous bivalve, formally documented in 2025, is one of the very few clams on Earth that survives by eating other animals. Its habitat lies thousands of meters beneath the surface in methane-rich zones known as cold seeps. These areas are filled with chemical clouds that would poison most marine life, and oxygen levels are dangerously low. The water is permanently black, the pressure is crushing, and the seafloor constantly releases methane and sulfide gases. Yet this clam thrives here, quietly turning one of the most hostile environments on the planet into its personal hunting ground. For decades, these clams went unnoticed because traditional sampling tools were designed to collect filter-feeding shellfish, not predators. When they were pulled up in early trawls, they were assumed to be inactive or dying individuals of known species. It wasn't until 2025, when scientists placed long-duration cameras on methane seeps, but they observed the clams actively capturing small crustaceans and worms, revealing their true predatory nature. The carnivorous bivalve's most astonishing superpower is its sticky feeding tissue. Inside its shell are specialized, glue-like internal surfaces that trap animals that wander inside. Once prey is stuck, digestive chemicals are released directly onto the victim, breaking it down before it can escape. Unlike other clams, it has completely lost its filtering system. Its body is built solely for hunting. Finding food in darkness is made possible by sensitive chemical detectors embedded in its tissues. These sensors detect the faint chemical traces left by passing organisms, guiding prey unknowingly into its open shell. Some species may also emit faint chemical cues that lure curious animals closer. Reproduction occurs through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into methane seep currents. These drift through the deep-sea environment until they settle in new seep zones, where young clams slowly grow into new predators. Growth is slow, and individuals may live for many decades in the cold, stable conditions of the deep ocean. Its main defense is its shell. Thick, pressure-resistant valves protect its soft tissues from predators and crushing depths. When threatened, it can snap shut with surprising speed, sealing itself inside a natural armored vault. The toxic chemistry of its habitat also discourages many predators from approaching. Unlike normal clams, its internal tissues contain unusual biochemical compounds that tolerate methane-rich and low-oxygen environments. These pressure- and toxin-resistant materials allow it to survive in chemical conditions that would kill most animals. Relatives of this carnivorous clam have existed in deep-sea habitats for an extremely long time, forming a bloodline that stretches far back into ocean history. The species documented in 2025 represents one of the most specialized members of this ancient family. Among the most astonishing facts about the carnivorous bivalve are its ability to hunt prey, its sticky internal trap, its complete loss of filtering organs, and its survival in methane-rich poison zones. In the eternal darkness of the deep, this clam does not wait for food. It captures it. Popcorn-like parasitic isopod in the dark midwater zones of the deep ocean, where sunlight fades into a dim blue haze, and pressure silently squeezes everything that lives there. Exists a parasite so disturbing that early footage was dismissed as a malfunction of deep-sea cameras. It appears suddenly inside fish, swelling like popcorn inside living tissue. This is the popcorn-like parasitic isopod, a newly documented deep-sea parasite formerly recorded in 2025, and it is one of the most unsettling survival strategies ever observed. In marine life, its world lies hundreds to thousands of meters beneath the surface, where light is almost gone and the water is cold, heavy, and quiet. In this realm, fish drift slowly through dark currents, and it is within these fish that the isopod makes its home. For decades, these parasites were overlooked because deep-sea fish are rarely examined alive, and preserved specimens often lost their internal parasites during collection. It wasn't until 2025 when scientists began scanning live deep-sea fish using high-resolution imaging that the full extent of this parasite's bizarre lifestyle was revealed. The isopod's most terrifying superpower is its ability to inflate inside its host. After entering a fish through the gills or mouth, it attaches itself to internal organs or muscle tissue and begins feeding. As it consumes nutrients directly from the host's body, its own body swells dramatically, inflating like popcorn inside living flesh. In some species, the parasite migrates into the fish's mouth and actually replaces the fish's tongue, permanently attaching itself and feeding on passing blood and tissue while the fish continues to live. Finding food requires no hunting at all. Once attached, the isopod becomes a living siphon, drawing nutrients straight from the host's bloodstream and organs. Despite the damage, many fish surprisingly survive while carrying the parasite, continuing to swim, feed, and even reproduce with a living organism occupying their bodies. Reproduction takes place inside or near the host fish. Reproductive cells are released into the surrounding water, allowing new parasites to drift and find new hosts in the dark currents. The young then seek out suitable fish to continue the cycle. The isopod's defense is its hiding place. By living inside fish, it is protected from predators, pressure, and environmental hazards. Its tough, segmented shell also resists crushing and damage, making it difficult to remove once attached. Unlike most animals, its tissues contain specialized compounds that allow it to survive within another animal's body without triggering immediate fatal immune reactions. These biochemical features are of great interest to medical researchers studying tissue compatibility and immune tolerance. Relatives of this parasitic isopod have existed in deep marine environments for extremely long periods, forming a bloodline that stretches far back into ocean history. The species documented in 2025 represents one of the most specialized members of this ancient parasitic family. Among the most astonishing facts about this parasite are its ability to replace a fish's tongue, inflate like popcorn inside living tissue, steal nutrients directly from organs, and allow its host to remain alive while being slowly drained. In the deep ocean's silent darkness, it does not stalk prey, it becomes part of its prey. New deep-sea fish, discoveries in the endless black depths of the ocean, where sunlight has never reached and pressure can crush steel, lives a collection of newly documented fish so strange that they seem designed for another planet. These deep-sea fish, formerly recorded by CSIRO in 2025, revealed entire hidden communities of animals whose bodies are shaped by darkness, pressure, and silence rather than light and crack. Warmth. Some have transparent skulls, others stare permanently upward into the void, and several glow with natural blue light living lanterns drifting through a world that never sees day. Their world begins thousands of meters beneath the surface, far beyond the reach of sunlight. The water here is icy cold, nearly oxygen poor, and wrapped in crushing pressure. In this realm, darkness is absolute. Only faint flashes of bioluminescence break the blackness. Many of these fish are born, live, and die without ever encountering sunlight, their entire existence unfolding in eternal night. For decades, these fish remained unknown because the deep ocean is one of the least explored places on Earth. Early sampling nets often damaged fragile bodies, destroying delicate skull structures and internal organs before they could be studied. It was only in 2025, using slow-moving submersibles equipped with high-definition cameras and gentle robotic collectors, that scientists were able to observe and retrieve intact specimens, revealing features no one had ever seen before. One of their most astonishing superpowers is transparency. Several species possess partially transparent skulls, allowing light to pass directly to their eyes from above. This helps them detect faint glows from bioluminescent prey drifting overhead. Many species also have permanently upward-facing eyes, locked into a sky-watching position that allows them to scan the darkness for silhouettes and glowing targets above. Finding food in this barren environment requires both patience and sudden action. These fish float almost motionless, conserving energy, until they detect a passing organism. Then they strike with lightning speed. Some species can swallow prey larger than themselves, stretching their jaws and stomachs to unbelievable limits, allowing them to make the most of every rare feeding opportunity. Several of these fish also glow with natural blue light produced by specialized cells embedded in their skin. This bioluminescence may be used to lure prey, communicate, or confuse predators, turning their bodies into living light signals in the abyss. Reproduction in the deep sea is a challenge due to vast distances between individuals. These fish release microscopic reproductive cells into deep currents, allowing their young to drift through the darkness until they encounter suitable habitats. Growth is slow, and individuals may live for many decades in the cold, stable deep-sea environment. Their defense is both their glow and their shape. Transparent tissues and unusual body outlines distort their appearance, making it difficult for predators to judge distance or recognize them as prey. Their ability to remain nearly motionless also allows them to blend into the black water. Unlike surface fish, Their bodies contain pressure-resistant cellular structures and flexible tissues that prevent collapse under extreme depths. Their bones, muscles, and organs are adapted to function in cold, oxygen-poor water without stiffening or tearing. Relatives of these deep-sea fish have occupied dark ocean habitats for an extremely long time, forming a bloodline that has persisted through vast spans of ocean history. The species documented in 2025 represent new members of this ancient deep-water family. Among the most astonishing facts about these fish are their transparent skulls, permanent upward-facing eyes, blue bioluminescent glow, their ability to swallow prey larger than themselves, and their lives spent entirely without sunlight. In the eternal black ocean, they drift silently living ghosts, illuminated by their own light. New crustaceans from long-line surveys thousands of meters beneath the ocean's surface, where some light has never reached and the water presses down with crushing force. Live entire communities of crustaceans that no human had ever formally documented, not because they were rare, but because no one had ever truly looked in their world. These new crustacean species were revealed in 2025, after they were accidentally caught during long-line fishing surveys, uncovering hidden populations that had quietly inhabited the abyss for ages. Their world exists in permanent night, far below the deepest coral forests and well beyond the reach of light. The water here is icy cold, oxygen poor, and under extreme pressure. In this black silence, these crustaceans crawl across the seafloor, navigating an environment so vast and unexplored that entire biological communities can exist without being noticed for centuries. They remained unknown because long-line fishing equipment was designed to catch fish, not study deep-sea invertebrates. When these crustaceans appeared on lines, they were initially dismissed as damaged or unimportant bycatch. It wasn't until 2025, when researchers began carefully examining everything retrieved from extreme depths, that they realized multiple unknown species were being brought up repeatedly, some so common in their habitats that they may be among the dominant animals of those zones. One of their most remarkable superpowers is their ability to sense vibrations in complete darkness. Their limbs are equipped with specialized sensory hairs that detect the slightest movements in the water and sediment. This allows them to feel approaching prey, predators, and environmental changes long before anything becomes visible, even in total darkness. Finding food in this empty world requires patience and precision. These crustaceans rely on vibration sensing and chemical detection to locate decaying organic matter, small animals and microbial films on the seafloor. They move slowly, conserving energy until they sense the faintest sign of food. Reproduction in the deep sea occurs through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into cold currents. The young drift through the abyss before settling into unexplored zones of the sea floor. Many species have unknown life cycles because their juvenile stages live in parts of the ocean that are rarely observed. Their main defense is awareness. By sensing vibrations early, they can retreat into sediment, rock crevices, or depressions before predators arrive. Their shells are also reinforced with pressure-resistant mineral layers that prevent crushing. Unlike shallow water crustaceans, their exoskeletons contain unusual mineral structures that resist extreme pressure and cold without becoming brittle. Their tissues remain flexible even in near-freezing temperatures. Relatives of these crustaceans have inhabited deep-sea regions for an extremely long time, forming a bloodline that stretches deep into ocean history. The species revealed in 2025 are part of this hidden lineage, surviving quietly beneath the surface. Among their most astonishing facts are their extreme depth habitats, their vibration-sensing limbs, their unknown life cycles, and their accidental discovery, which is now helping scientists map unexplored regions. Of the seafloor, In the silent abyss, they crawl unseen, revealing that even common animals can remain unknown in Earth's deepest places. Newly found sharks raise ocean census discoveries. Far beneath the familiar blue of the open ocean lies a shadow world where light fades into darkness and time itself seems to move more slowly. In these deep, silent waters live newly documented sharks and rays whose existence was only fully revealed in 2025 through the Ocean Census Project. These animals were not newly arrived. They had been hiding in plain sight for centuries, quietly moving through depths rarely visited by human eyes. Their world exists thousands of meters below the surface, where sunlight disappears completely and the water remains icy cold year-round. Pressure here can crush metal, and food is scarce. In this realm of darkness, many of these sharks and rays glide slowly through black water, their movements unhurried, their lives unfolding at a pace that seems almost timeless. They went unnoticed for so long because most deep-sea fishing and research equipment rarely operated in the depths where these animals live. When they were occasionally captured, they were often misidentified as known species. It was only in 2025, with advanced imaging, genetic scanning, and long-term deep-sea observation, that scientists realized multiple distinct species had been quietly sharing the abyss with humanity for centuries. One of their strangest superpowers is light. Some of these sharks and rays glow faintly in darkness, producing soft blue or green bioluminescence across parts of their bodies. This glow may help them communicate, blend into faint light from above, or confuse predators and prey in the abyss. Finding food in the deep ocean requires extreme sensitivity. These animals use electroreceptors embedded in their skin to detect the faint electrical signals produced by living creatures. Even in total darkness, they can see prey by feeling its heartbeat and muscle movements through water. Reproduction is equally remarkable. Some of these sharks and rays give birth to live young in total darkness, deep beneath the surface, where newborns begin life without ever seeing sunlight. Their slow metabolism and stable environment allow them to grow gradually, possibly living longer than elephants. Their main defense is patience and endurance. Their slow movement conserves energy, while their tough, flexible cartilage skeletons resist crushing pressure. Their faint glow and shadowy coloration help them blend into the black water, making them difficult for predators to detect. Unlike shallow water sharks, their tissues contain biochemical compounds that stabilize cell membranes under extreme pressure and cold. Their bodies are built to flex rather than collapse, allowing them to survive where few other large animals can exist. Their bloodline stretches far back into ocean history, forming some of the longest-lived families of predators in the sea. The species documented in 2025 represent only a glimpse of a vast hidden community still being uncovered. Among the most astonishing facts about these deep-sea sharks and rays are their glowing bodies, their ability to sense prey by electrical signals, their live births in total darkness, and their lifespans that may exceed even the longest-living land mammals. In the silent abyss, they drift slowly, ancient guardians of a world where light has never reached. The glass-blood octopus new deep-sea cephalopod. In the deepest reaches of the ocean, where boiling hydrothermal vents glow faintly against a background of endless black water, lives an octopus so delicate and unreal that it looks more like a drifting ghost than an animal. Its body is nearly transparent, its internal organs visible through its skin, and blue blood flows visibly through its veins like glowing rivers of light. This extraordinary cephalopod, known as the glass-blood octopus, was formally documented in 2025 after researchers filmed it hovering near freezing hydrothermal vent systems revealing gull, one of the strangest animals ever recorded in Earth's oceans. Its world exists thousands of meters beneath the surface, far beyond the reach of sunlight. Temperatures fluctuate wildly here, ranging from near-freezing seawater to superheated vent emissions hot enough to melt metal. The water is permanently dark, silent, and under crushing pressure. It is an environment where very few animals can survive, yet the glass blood octopus glides calmly through the cold currents near these vents, moving like a living apparition. For decades, similar translucent shapes were occasionally glimpsed on deep-sea footage, but they were dismissed as camera artifacts, drifting debris, or jellyfish reflections. It wasn't until 2025, when high-definition vent-mapping submersibles slowed their scanning passes and used ultra-sensitive cameras, that scientists finally realized these ghostly forms were living cephalopods, transparent octopuses, hiding in plain sight in one of the least explored regions of the planet. The glass blood octopus possesses a remarkable superpower: transparency. Its nearly invisible body makes it extremely difficult for predators to see in the dim light near vents. Its blue blood, rich in copper-based oxygen carriers, flows visibly through its veins, helping it transport oxygen efficiently in cold, low-oxygen water. Unlike most octopuses, it lacks ink completely, because in total darkness, there is nothing to hide from. Finding food in this hostile environment requires precision rather than speed. The glass blood octopus uses sensitive suction cups that detect faint vibrations and chemical signals left by small crustaceans, worms, and vent-dwelling animals. It drifts silently, sensing its prey before gently capturing it with soft, careful movements. Reproduction occurs through the release of microscopic reproductive cells into vent currents. The young drift through cold, deep-sea water before settling into vent ecosystems, where they slowly mature in the dark. Growth is extremely slow, and individuals may live for many decades, possibly longer, in the stable abyss. Its main defense is invisibility. With no ink and no coloration, its transparent tissues allow it to blend almost completely into black water. Its soft body can also slip through tight spaces between rocks and vent chimneys, escaping danger silently. Unlike normal octopuses, its tissues contain pressure-resistant cellular structures and cold-stabilizing compounds that prevent damage near freezing vents. Its blood chemistry is also specialized to function in low oxygen, allowing it to remain active where most animals would suffocate. The glass blood octopus belongs to an extremely ancient cephalopod bloodline that stretches back through immense spans of ocean. History possibly older than many dinosaur lineages, making it one of the most enduring families of marine animals still alive today. Among the most astonishing facts about the glass blood octopus are its see-through body, visible blue blood, life near hydrothermal vents, lack of ink, and its ghost-like existence in total darkness. In the cold, black silence of the deep sea, it drifts unseen, a living phantom in Earth's most alien environment. And somewhere beneath the waves, while cities sleep and satellites circle above us, these creatures are still moving through the dark, drifting, glowing, waiting completely untouched by the world we know. They do not know our names. They do not know our wars, our borders, or our noise. They live in a world older, deeper, colder, and quieter than anything on land. And the most incredible part is this: we have only just begun to find them. Vast forests of coral still stand unseen. Entire species are still drifting in total darkness, unrecorded and unnamed. Mountains, valleys, and trenches remain completely unexplored beneath our oceans. So the next time you look at the sea, remember, you are not looking at water. You are looking at a hidden planet, a planet we are only starting to meet. Good night and welcome to the unknown.